This is Arman Assadi. Welcome to Find Your Flow. Jenny Chang. Jenny. Oh man, what a conversation I have in store for you. Jenny is the most dynamic woman that I know today. Not only is she a badass entrepreneur boss, not only is she a seeker and someone who is in pursuit of her truth and higher meaning and really finding flow and fulfillment in life, but she's also absolutely freaking hilarious and is conquering TikTok right now and creating these hilarious, unbelievable TikTok videos that are just killing the internet and breaking the internet on a daily basis. And she just started. So I feel lucky that I basically got to have a conversation with this TikTok celebrity. So there's so many things that we cover in this conversation. What you should know about Jenny is that she is literally in our country of the United States, one of the top 50 wedding and event planners in the country. She's also in the top 10 in Los Angeles, which is the mecca of everything that has to do with events and weddings and celebrities in Hollywood, as you know. That's an incredible feat, and you will see why. And you will see why she will continue rising and basically won't stop until the point that she is the number one event and wedding planner. She has built multiple businesses, and now she's conquering TikTok. And we also get to talk through her perspective on her spiritual life and how she approaches flow, how she approaches fulfillment, what it is that she's doing on a daily basis to create more joy in her life. And I feel so lucky to have met Jenny. And the way in which I've met Jenny, I'll let us talk about in the interview. But the short version of it is that Jenny and I actually met very serendipitously through a book club for The Artist's Way that I was asked to be in by my friend Christy. And all of a sudden I got to meet these other amazing people just by saying yes. And they're all absolutely incredible. And Jenny is one of them that I just could not wait to have a conversation with. Now, a quick little note about this podcast. I've been getting asked how I did all this, what I had to do to put this all together, who handles the editing, all that stuff, because especially in this day and age, we're seeing more podcasts than ever before, and nothing would make me happier than to see a listener, a friend of mine, anyone out there finally take that step toward launching their podcast. I personally could not do this without Resonate Recordings. They handle all the post-production of this episode, all the editing, and they polish it up for me and make it all perfect so that you can listen to it. And in addition to that, they do all kinds of other stuff like video production, show notes, creating audiograms. I mean, you'll see when you go to their website, they do all kinds of stuff. So what I have for you is a little a little credit to use with Resonate Recordings. Basically, if you text me, I will give you a code that is a credit for one free episode to get edited. So they will essentially edit one episode for you for free. So it's a $59 credit. To get that link, just text me at 619-825-2595. And when you text me, just put hashtag resonate in the message, and that will automatically kick that special little link back to you. All right, it is time for our conversation with the wonderful, magnificent Jenny Chang. Thanks for making time.
Are you kidding me? Are you seriously kidding me? I thank you for inviting me on this, Arman.
Of course.
I feel so honored. I really do.
You are a boss. I'm getting the boss's time. It's like, this is big. What have you been doing today?
So today, I started this morning actually doing a Rockin' You tour, which is kind of like my weekly webinar university that I started. And so I did a tour this morning, which took a lot of my energy. And then I made some TikTok videos for marketing.
Hell yeah.
For play, more for play. And now I've just been like, twiddling my thumbs. I'm going to be honest. I was just really excited for the interview. And then after this, I'll probably cook some dinner and make more TikTok videos.
How many are you doing a day?
I'm making about 3 to 4 videos a day.
Oh,
But I
wow.
post, yeah, but I'm
That's
posting.
serious production. That's serious
You
output.
know what, Arman? Listen, like there was more times that I didn't put out content, you know? I just kind of
Mhm.
let like my
Mm.
marketing people do what people do out there in the industry, and it wasn't working. And so I was like, screw it, man. I have to just pull the Gary V card.
Yeah, wow. Do you think it wasn't working because it was manufactured? It was like a little inauthentic, or was it just it wasn't personal enough to draw people in, or like what's the difference then versus now that's working
That's a
for you?
that's a really good question. I think then I was just kind of trusting my marketing team to focus on like the aesthetics and the growing the following through like
Mm,
organic, you know what I mean? Just like or, aesthetics and the way that it's supposed to be filtered and pretty. But there's just so much personality behind these companies, Armand. And I was like,
yeah,
man, you know what I mean?
hell yeah.
And
Hmm.
but if it wasn't for this quarantine life, I honestly don't know if I would have found the motivation
Gift
to
of
like.
the quarantine.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
That's
just saying.
that's
You
what this
know.
podcast is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yep.
crazy. It's crazy.
So
That's amazing.
obviously the podcast was obviously something that you've been thinking about doing for a
Oh,
while,
years
for a
and years and
while.
years. Yeah.
But now it's like you pulled the
I
trigger.
think like truth comes to the surface, like, like we've talked about in our group. Obviously, so like, yeah, for context. So we're in this artist way group. What do we, is it a cluster? Do we call it a cluster?
The
Is
Artist
that what
Way Book Club.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
I thought it was a book club. It's actually like a course in the
Yeah.
shape of a
Oh, that's
book.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. But
That's right.
I think our little group is called a cluster. But anyway, like
Mhm.
I've seen and we've talked about like how, okay, like this opportunity to go inward has resulted in all of us thinking about what do we actually want to create. Then on top of it, you and I
Mhm.
are literally in a group where the discussion is all about like unleashing our
Right.
creativity, removing blocks, removing the negative energy in the people, and
Yep.
like unleashing. And then honestly, like but you started the TikToks like a little bit before the group really started. Like you were already rolling, right?
You know, Armand, I think I probably did like 2 videos, but it wasn't,
Hmm.
I didn't make a commitment though.
Right.
So I made content, but I didn't make a commitment until we actually started to read this book. And I'm
Yeah.
being honest with you, it really kicked in. And I was telling Christy, I was like, I'm not kidding.
Hmm.
Something unleashed. And I was in that survival mode of building content and really expressing what I've been kind of holding on to all this time. You know what I mean? And I think
Hell yeah. Hmm.
you feel that though,
I
right?
mean, oh yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm really lucky because I get to see Jenny. I don't even know how to put you into words. You are one of the most dynamic people I've ever come across. You can go from having a conversation in our group where, for example, yesterday you
Mhm.
led our session, you facilitated, and you
Yeah.
did it just in such an incredible way. Like you thought through it, you knew exactly what you wanted the outcome to be. You gave space for each person to kind of lead as well and talk and share. You let
Um,
tangents happen, but then you drew people back. Like, so then I got to see this like leadership, this
yeah.
empathetic leadership side of you. But then I see this like amazingly creative, absolutely nuts person on TikTok. Like literally, I'll pull out my phone and you're humping your kitchen table. It's the most incredible thing. Like that dynamic, like and we're really similar in that regard. Like I think people sometimes
Mhm.
look at people like us and they're like, how can you talk about this and then do that at the same
Right.
time? I think
It's
that's
true.
what makes your personality so incredible. And then plus on top of that,
Mhm.
you've built all these companies and you are like one of the top event planners, wedding planners that there is. And yesterday I learned like it didn't start that way. Like you had to
Yeah.
build it up. So I just want to start by saying like I'm really grateful that I get to be surrounded by such amazing people in this group, but in particular watching you do your thing, now I'm really excited because we get to sit and have a one-on-one about
Yeah.
some of the things that I've seen. And I don't know, I just like major kudos to you. And anyone who is going to listen to this and is listening is absolutely needs to watch you hump a table and put a lemon in your mouth and duct tape yourself. And there's just so much to you. And didn't one of your recent videos get 100,000 views?
Yeah, as of today, 2 of my videos got over 100,000 in
And
like
you
less
just
than.
started.
Mhm. Oh my god! I
So
am
I have to start then.
blushing so hard right now. I can't
No,
even.
you're incredible. And
Come on, thank you.
what is going on? How and why did you start unleashing? Because I think
Mhm.
you have been unleashing for a while. Like
Yeah.
I kind of went, I've really looked at what you've been doing. You've been building these companies. You've been being unapologetically yourself for a while, but this is a new
Mhm.
level.
Yeah,
So my
that's
first
very
question
true.
for you is how and why, what is causing this to really take place now?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Arman, I'm gonna be honest, that's a really, really, really good question. So it started here. So I started this company called Rockin' University about a few years ago. And the whole intention around this school was for me to be able to be in front of the camera and drop at least an hour a week into being able to educate future producers into becoming a great event planner, right? Or an
Mhm.
event director. And so one day I was kind of sitting around the couch and I found myself at that point. It was probably within like a week into quarantine. And I
Mhm.
found myself waiting for something, right? And that was a really interesting feeling for me because I was like, why, what am I waiting for? Right? Like
Yeah.
what am I actually waiting for? And I started to see all these things and all these very chaotic messages and fear just being like expanded, throughout social media. And I
Mhm.
decided, I was like, you know what? Like, this is a time for us to be able to build content. This is not a time for us to sit and wait for expectations to come to us.
Mm.
It's a time for us to use this energy of challenges and what the pandemic is, kind of putting in the world and using that fear and converting it into a strategy that benefits us, right? And so as an entrepreneur, you and I both know that one of the hardest things to do is control the uncontrollable, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself in this very short period of time just waiting for something to change.
Mm.
And mind you, I was getting messages from clients changing their dates and saying, hey, we need to, we might cancel the whole wedding or we might cancel the whole event in itself. And we're getting messages from
Wow.
vendors. The industry is freaking out. I have employees that are, asking me all kinds of questions about what's going to happen to them,
Wow.
what's going to happen throughout this whole process. And the biggest answer was to just focus on marketing at this point.
Hmm.
Everything had to do with what we could control, not focus on what we couldn't control. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I can't control the fact that an event can't be produced next month, but I can control the voice of what my companies are going to exude, the energy that I'm going to exude during this time of fear.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided, well, let's
Wow.
start let's start putting our personalities out there. Let's start showing them, hey, like there's bigger things than to focus on what we don't have, right? Let's focus on the things
Mhm.
that we can have, and so that's when I started to really express a little bit more of my personality, express
Mhm.
what I can create, and any
Yeah.
creation that we make is, as long as we learn to expose it, it's marketing,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay. Every creation, if we expose it, is a form of marketing. I've never
Yeah,
thought about that way.
absolutely. Yeah.
I have so much more respect for you already because just Jenny, it's like you're in one of the industries that is most directly impacted. And for you to take that and go, I can't even get 5 people in a room together, let alone 100 or 200, put any form of event together. And then to stop and say, what can I control? What's my real perspective here? How can I actually still do something that benefits you creatively, other
Yeah.
people? You're making an impact on other people. But then it's like, instead of sitting on your ass and
Mhm.
getting sad and down and depressed, which that's okay too. like a lot of people are in that place, but you decided, no, like I can't let that happen to me. It just says so much about you, you know, the fact that you really stopped and went, what can I control? And now you're on this marketing TikTok frenzy, which the way you described it, it's not just marketing, it's exposure of your creativity.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Armand, you put that so well. And the way that I see it is really just like we're all just expressing, we're all expressing energy, and it's what we choose to express out there, that's going to change the way that other people feel. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
overall, whether I have background in wedding planning or event planning, I'm in the industry of making people feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, what I started to see when I was exposing this content, it was just a little dose. Like I had did a duet with one of my colleagues, and we were doing a little video, and I saw the amount of hype that I was getting, and
Yeah.
a lot of people that were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, Christy would always say, "Save some internet for the rest of us," and oh, she's so
Mm-hmm.
comedy. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's just a lot of people that were responding really positively instead of, constantly just finding themselves in this state of fear. And so
Yeah.
I decided, I was like, and another thing that was really important to me, Armand, in this process was saying, I'm not doing this for my industry per se, right?
Uh,
I'm doing this just for myself. I mean, it's my own
hmm.
therapy, and um, I thought that that was important for me to kind of put out there. Like, if people started unfollowing me because it was a
Yeah.
little too wild for the wedding industry,
Yeah.
then I said, fuck it. Who gives a shit?
Ah,
Like in the
I
end
love
of the
it.
day, like we got negative attention is still attention, baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah. Well, what have you, so first of all, you're absolutely hilarious. And one of the things I think that gives you is an outlet to show like straight up, improv level, and you're trying to pull me in, and we might, there's a small chance. I don't think I'm going to
we're
set up a
going.
TikTok account. I know you're going to, like, something will happen. We'll try
Okay.
something, but
Hmm.
you are hilarious. And it comes
Oh,
really, like, I can tell you work your craft, but it also does come naturally. Like it's a part of yourself you're unleashing. So that's really cool. What
thank
have
you.
you seen this do to your prospects or audience, or like even level 7 away, like when you see someone who's an event planner or wedding planner make content like you are, what's the type of response you're getting, and what does it mean for your business as a whole? Like, because again, you just said it's like this is wow for the wedding industry, for me to go out and do something like that. But if anything, all you're doing is drawing in the people that love you more
Mm,
and
mm.
removing the people that were never ever going to be a client. So I'm just curious, like, what are you hearing? Like, what are people saying to you? Like, what's the
God,
impact been?
yes, the impact has been so positive, Armand. I haven't had any negativity yet, but I will, and that's
Oh
okay.
yeah, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure. And if they're not saying it, they may be thinking it. But at the same time, the response and the feedback that I've been getting so far has been nothing but just extremely supportive, extremely positive. I can literally hear them laughing,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
so it's been such a great journey so far. But I love this question so much, Armand, because it kind of helps me divide the storyline in two sectors, right?
Hmm.
One sector is because I've played it in my head, Armand. I've played this whole scenario, and I've asked myself, why now, right? Like why now, and why now do you not give a fuck? Probably more than ever, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, I think that for one, I started a brand, or I've started brands that revolved around that concept. So, for example, in the wedding industry, you have a lot of silly Sallies everywhere, right? You have a lot of the Ivy Blues or I can do your wedding.com type of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I never wanted to piece myself in that space. We're rocking events. I mean, this is a company that is all about edge. It's all about
Mm.
breaking the boundaries, being unapologetic, choosing our clients, right?
Mhm.
And so I've revolved this whole brand, and Rockin' Events is the stem of basically all the companies that have been born today. But with that being said, I would say that it really started with that 19-year-old self that started this company with no experience. And I
Crazy.
told myself that I wanted to start something that was going to be groundbreaking, that was going to be on my terms, our terms as a
Mm.
firm. And but within the first 10 years of making this whole trail of companies, Rockin' Events and all these other trails of, establishments, I
Yeah.
would say that why is it important for me to expose who I am, my personality, my expression now? Is because, to be honest with you, like within the 10 years, that was all about building the foundations,
Mhm.
building the material to scale, having the reputation to attract nonstop reputable clients like John and
Yeah.
Erica, and high profile people. So I put my back into everything within the first 10 years, and it was introspectively
Mhm.
that we've been quiet. We've been marketing things the way that a lot of people have
Mm.
been. But the reality is now I'm going to focus my career revolving around just exposing, right? Like exposing who we are, right? Exposing our culture, exposing our personality, exposing the colors of what we actually create. Because once you get to love us now, you get to really see why we do what we love is so important, And
Yeah.
so,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that's just like really
It's
long for
per
me.
Yeah, no, it's I'm just thinking like, if I was someone who had discovered you
Mm,
and didn't know you outside of the context of our group,
mm-hmm.
and I was planning a wedding, I would just it's like overnight raving fan syndrome, because you are what you're essentially doing, which I think is so powerful. Like, think about it. All you're doing is you're unleashing your creativity and exposing the true sense of who you are. And the
Mm,
byproduct of that is that the people that would identify as the right person to work with you
right, right.
now are not just like somewhat sure, and they're going to go to your website and fill out a contact form and like, hey, what's your pricing? I'm just kind of feeling the
Mm-hmm.
waters. I'm comparing like 19 people. And again, you're in a situation where you can't do someone's wedding right now, probably, right? But the response that you're getting, and I guarantee the conversation that's happening in that person's mind and in that couple's mind, or at that corporate level of the company's mind, is
Right.
the soonest fucking chance we get, we are having Jenny Chang rock our event.
Yeah.
And why? Because she's going to bring the ruckus. She's going to
Yeah.
bring something that no one else can bring. And we're not going to have to tell her, hey, like, you're just going to come in and be like, okay, I understand the culture of your company. Here's my twist on it. Because you're showing the culture of yourself and your company. I just think,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the world of like, I've been an entrepreneur like you for so long now. It's weird to say so long. I can't believe it's
Yeah.
been a while. But I've also been in the world of marketing for a long time. I literally
Yeah.
go into companies like yours, smaller, bigger, all sizes, and we talk about this exact topic. What
Mm-hmm.
you're doing is the most authentic version of who you are, that is actually creating the response that you need. And it's not even creating the response and getting the leads. It's like, it's just creating the conversation. It's creating the
Mm-hmm.
engagement. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. And
Yeah.
I hope you just keep bringing the magic. Like,
Thank you.
yeah.
And Armand, like, I mean, obviously we have this commonality of being able to understand this marketing sphere. And,
Hmm.
a lot of the clients that I represent are experiential, are for companies and startups that, want to have experiential marketing under their belt, right?
Yeah.
And so a brand would hire me to be like, hey, Jen, like, this is our mission, this is our brand. Can you create an experience where
Mm.
consumers and investors will want to invest further, or consumers would want to buy, even more, and our profit margins will skyrocket? I mean, there's all different types
Mhm.
of missions. So I focus a lot on experiential marketing, which is bringing these events to life, right? Putting people back inside a room, right? Where we go back to the beginning, right? I think that's so
Oh
important,
man, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For
That's where the
entrepreneurs,
juice is.
and it's in everything, Arman. It's even in
Yeah.
our relationships. It's like, for any reason our relationship with a partner goes stagnant, we just have to remember to go back to the beginning and
Yeah.
pull in the pieces
Yeah,
that
we were talking about that the other day, like treating
right.
it like it's the first day every day. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so experiential marketing really focuses on that, right? It
Mhm.
focuses a lot on bringing people back together to experience something, so that that is the most powerful form of marketing. But when this whole quarantine and COVID-19 happened, even digital marketing agencies were struggling, and a lot of the messages that they were putting out there is like, don't stop marketing, don't stop marketing. But the reality is, right now, we don't need template right now. Right now, the world
Mhm.
doesn't need more template marketing. We need
Well said.
creation marketing, right? We need things that are going to help us express ourselves. And yeah, whatever happens from there
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, well said.
Hmm.
Well said. It's all
Yeah.
about like what's most unique and original. On that note, I have a question that I've been thinking about asking you. So,
Okay.
if you were going to wave a magic wand
Hmm.
and you got a phone call or a text or an email, whatever,
Okay.
from your dream client, what would your dream event be? Like, what is that event that you're like, if I could put that together, or dream experience? Like, walk me through it, and then there's no limitations, just like you made me do that exercise.
Yeah.
The no limitations. What is the no limitations version that comes to your mind?
I love that. I love that so much. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is an event that keeps on going, for one. So not
Mm,
just an event day, but something that can carry on, maybe something that could be compartmentalized into a few days or a week or 3 days. So an event that kind of turns into a weekend, or something that can keep, going, and every day is a little bit different for the mission. But I would say that one of the biggest the event that I want to create, probably more than ever right now, is something that I can recreate. So, for example, let's say it's let's say that the company's mission is to recreate the startup journey within the first year of what the struggle used to be like, right? And that was their branding strategy. I would love to listen to every documentation, every process, every pain, every challenge, every success that they've endured, and recreate that whole year into one event series, right?
wow.
And allow people to feel what that company went through within that year,
Mm,
and then be able to be exposed to where they are now. So now let's say that this is a couple that's getting married too,
yeah.
right? I think what would be really cool is to just learn the process of how we got there, right? And
Mm,
recreate the experience, so as fans and as people and as guests of honors, we can all kind of walk in that journey.
mm,
Um, the reason why that's so prevalent to me, that's I would say the most attractive thing to me right now as an event planner, is because um, for one, I think that people think that success is just voila, it just happens.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
people hear about the like struggles, people hear about the pain, people hear about the challenges and the journey, but it's another to actually walk through the timeline of it, and
Mm,
and really download what that feels like. And Yeah, I think that being able to recreate something, and what speaks to me though is, I want to be able to dive deep into my clients' subconscious and conscious, right? I want
wow.
to ask all the questions that would help me understand. It's almost like creating a documentary for an event, you know?
Mhm.
Asking all the right questions, and learning every detail as much as you can to be able to recreate that experience, and for people to walk into. I think that would be kind of cool. What do you
Why
think
is
about
the
that?
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. It's super powerful. I've never heard anything like it,
Oh.
because I know the importance of, from my perspective, the importance of either the journey or the importance of the beginning. So from your
Mhm.
perspective, why is the beginning so important? The beginning of a startup, the beginning of a relationship, like that whole thing we were talking about. Why is that so important?
Because it's the beginning is what the purpose starts to revolve itself around, you know?
Mm,
There's always a why. Like, why did we choose this person? Right?
mhm,
Like I could ask you, Armand, like, who are you independently before you met
mhm,
Erica, right?
mhm, mhm,
Erica.
mhm,
And who was Erica before she met Armand? And then the beginning of your journey is what I call an interdependent process. It's an interdependent connection. But once that connection happens, which is again the beginning, right? There's so much purpose as to why that happened. And I think the beginning says everything in regards to the purpose. Why did we want to start this business? Why did we want to start this personal journey? Why did
mhm,
we start this? Why do we choose this journey to heal? You know,
mhm.
so that answer in the beginning of why is really revolves a lot around
Yeah,
finding the purpose.
it's like
Mhm.
people forget their North Star sometimes, huh?
Yeah,
And then when they do, they sort of they sort of begin reacting to everything in their
yeah,
environment. All of a sudden their whole life and agenda and mission becomes around what others want and seek of
yeah,
them, and they lose their direction. And then next thing
right,
you know, you and it can happen to an entrepreneur, it can happen in a relationship, but you become a
yeah,
slave in a
yeah,
sense to whatever's in front of you, and you
right,
forgot what was behind you and the whole reason you started. That's the way I
right,
look at it. It's like without holding on to that beginning energy, that vision, that purpose, you
right.
sort of can become enslaved to the context rather than the
Absolutely.
deeper why. And I know you're a very I think I would call you like a very spiritual person. You think about
Mm,
the world
mhm.
in a very grand way, and you're very open minded. So I know that that is a big part of your work too. What happens to you? What is the experience like for you when you're doing your thing? Like when you're creating, when you're planning, when you're TikToking, when you're in your best state of creation, what's it like for you? Like what
Um,
happens to you? What do you go through?
Armand, you are
Give me the juice.
a philosopher. Like you are literally this is the great questions. And by the way, I'm such a fan of you and your curiosity and spirits and souls and just because not a lot we walk our lives not always being asked these questions, so it feels really nice when then
Thank
when
you.
we're able to dive deep into it.
Thank you. I
um
love this stuff. This is what life is
oh
all about.
yeah, absolutely. And so what I'll tell you very simply, Armand, something taps into me for sure. Right. So the best way for me to explain it is there's many versions of us, right? That all coexist in the same exact time, right? We live in these parallel worlds. But different versions of us, when we ask that version to come and kind of help us achieve what we want to achieve, um, uh, taps in, right? So I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, Armand, where you've said something to somebody, right? And you're just kind of streaming consciousness. And then about a week later, you kind of forget, and they
Mhm.
start like dropping all these little things that you told them as an advice, but you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're nodding your head, but you're like, oh my God, I said that.
Uh-huh.
Or, and you were, by the way, completely sober and everything, right? And
Yeah.
so what happens is we go through this stream of consciousness, even when we're writing at times, right? There's that, automatic writing process where sometimes when we write, it's not even us that's writing. It's a process of, the subconscious that's communicating through us. And so when I go into, let's say, creation energy, right?
Mhm.
Um, what ends up happening is I just let it flow, right?
Mm.
I I
Mhm.
know it's very true. I go into everything with about 60% of the plan. So by 60%, I just know what I want to create. I know what I want
Mhm.
to do, right? Or at least I have a gist. But I leave just as much or just a slightly less into just being able to improvise the process. So
Mhm.
the other 40%, will have no plan at all. So when I'm creating an event on the day of, that's exactly my mode.
You literally, even on an event day.
Yep. I'm telling you, the magic
Wow.
comes in so we have like a
You
year
know
to
the
plan an
framework
event.
and
Mhm.
yeah.
Exactly. But then so on the day of, like, you'll see everyone just kind of lose their shit. Everyone kind of runs up to you, hey, this didn't come in. There's 10 napkins that are missing. They're not the same color. All kinds of things start going wrong. And the reality is, it's that 40% that really saves you, because that's when you're in your creative flow. When I'm making content for marketing, or when I'm making, anything in creation mode, so like, you'll kind of laugh, because if you were to be a fly on my wall and you watch me making TikTok videos, I'll basically be like, oh, hey, swipe, swipe. That's a cool content. I want to create
Mhm.
something like that. And then I'll kind of screenshot what that is, let it go. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to create that content. And then again, I'll have no plan. And my only plan is knowing that I want to create something similar to that, right? Dialogue or improv. And then the other 40% is me just winging it. It's just a winging process. And so I allow myself to just kind of let it happen with no expectations. I think that's what I try to do the
I'm
most,
blown away that it's that big of a chunk, because I love what you're
Yeah.
describing. It reminds me of Black Swan.
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen that movie, but when you're too rigid and you're too white swan
Yeah.
and you try to do everything perfectly, you become your own worst enemy.
My God.
And
Yep.
you're it's like
Yeah.
your target for success is so small, because
Mm-hmm.
perfection means bullseye. That would,
Mm-hmm.
in an equivalent fashion, it would mean every single thing that you plan 100% of the day or of the TikTok video to go exactly how you want it. And it has to go exactly that way. Otherwise, you beat yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
So giving that
Absolutely.
room is hard for people, because what we control is what we plan and we
Right.
put on paper or in a document, or we at least have it here. So to allow ourselves to just step into unknown is really scary. Is it
Yep.
scary for you? Is it ever like, do you ever feel fear when you just have to like surrender and let go? Or did you overcome it? Did you used to feel it?
Okay, so Armand, beautiful. So before I started my business, I went through probably more mental blocks um, to get out of the concept of starting my own business, because I have a lot of anxiety, right? So
Mhm.
my anxiety almost stopped me from starting a career in event planning. Um, my lack of organization skills at the time stopped me from, wanting to pursue. And then, of course, at the time, I was just so young, and I didn't even know if I was capable of being able to manage everybody. And so, there's a lot of these mental blocks. But what I recognized in the world of event planning is, uh, you know, I am my worst own critic no matter what. Like, no
Hmm.
matter what. So even Eric and John's wedding, if you were to ask them, not a thing went wrong. To them, it was 110% above
Mhm.
and beyond. To me, I still know the details that could have been better. I
Yeah.
absolutely do. However, I also recognize that is the journey, right?
Mhm.
That's the process. Everything in the process, if we look at it as an outcome, then we're going from A to J,
Yeah.
right? Just trying to shoot the bullseye as perfectly as possible. But if we look at everything as just one journey, then we'll recognize that there are going to be mistakes. There are going to be things that could go wrong and will go wrong, right? There will
Mhm.
be haters
Mhm.
just as much that as there are lovers. And I think the most beautiful thing about seeing everything as a journey is just accepting, right, that everything's gonna be okay.
Mhm.
Like, I remember thinking the only thing that would get me through the nights is, on the other side of this is either a lesson, right,
Mhm.
or success.
Right.
Either it's gonna turn out exactly the way you want it to be, right, or it's slightly not, and you're gonna learn from that, So either way, we win, right?
And both of those are forms of acceptance, essentially, you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. Because the thing that stops us is being scared of what the outcome looks like on the other side
Right.
of the door.
Right.
But if we just look at the other side of the door as a golden ticket to being like, come through, come in, you're
Mm.
going to be okay because you're going to learn something today or it's going to be perfect. Then you're always going to make it happen no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of something I've really been focused on and learning
Mm,
over the last 6 to 12 months. And it's just this more like the last six, but it's just this
mm,
process of surrendering,
yeah.
accepting, letting go. And that is really hard for
Yep.
type A entrepreneurial people.
That's very true.
It's hard for everybody. Don't get me wrong, but it's like when you've been an achievement junkie
Yep.
for a long time, which is I think both of us have, I know I have, and a lot of your fulfillment comes from checking off boxes or
Yeah.
accomplishing something or getting to the finish line. It's disappointing a lot of the times. And
Right.
after getting disappointed enough, you kind of start to wisen up and go, you know what? Maybe there is something to this journey thing. Maybe there is something to
Yeah.
just letting go and accepting things for whatever they are. And
Right.
maybe actually, even if we go even deeper, what if actually the magic of life is that? If actually
Right.
all we had to do was from a moment to moment basis be aware and conscious and present of whatever's in front of us,
Yeah.
and that's actually the magic and not the little, check boxes and
Mm,
achievements and getting the thing done, because the getting the thing done is so fleeting. You try to
right.
hold it, you're like you're grasping it. When it happens, you're like, oh, it feels so good, I did it, but then it's gone. but
Yeah.
but I've found that what's not gone is every moment, the moment to moment experience. And I think you just described that perfectly for people. It's like
Mm,
all you've got to actually do is a form of surrender. And I like the
right.
60-40 kind of split, because it's like you're not saying, oh, don't have a plan at all.
Right.
Just have a loose structure,
Mm-hmm.
know what your ideal outcome looks like. And you're also admitting that, like, hey, like I still in the back of my mind know when things didn't go as I
Mm,
as I wanted, you know?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I love that. I think it's beautiful. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of people can resonate, Armand. I think entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, everyone can
Mhm,
resonate with the concept of um, not pulling the trigger towards their dream because they tried to make it so perfect before it
mhm,
could ever actually be exposed, you
mm,
know? I think a lot of people hold on to this unmet expectation that that they've actually formulated in their own minds, right? It's
mhm.
kind of that avoidant personality in us, right?
Yeah.
It's that avoidant personality in all of us that avoids exposing anything that they consider to be mediocre, right?
Mm,
um, but the reality is, like, you can't reach the next level of perfection or success, another layer of value, unless you have this exposed material, right?
right.
That people can give you feedback on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It comes back to this whole concept of making everything as a team, not just team operationally, but team clients, right? Like
Yeah.
your clients and
Mhm.
their feedback, and everything and beyond is really the team that, yeah.
Yeah, managing our emotions is a hard part of this, though. Like you mentioned, like trying to really dance with anxiety. Would you
Yeah.
say that creation and putting yourself out there and really showing up, does that reduce the anxiety you feel and have felt over the years? Or what has helped reduce it for you? Like, I think everyone goes through a very individual journey with
Yeah.
their mental health. So I'm curious what
Hmm.
you'd say has been healthy and helpful for you.
I think the best way for me to kind of see it is, well, what's helped my anxiety is for me to put on my problem solving hat,
Mm,
right? So, um, life just becomes so much more purposeful and it becomes so much more exciting when there's problems to solve, right?
mhm,
And when you wear the hat of being like, hey, I'm going to write this blog and I'm going to put it out there, and either people are going to love it or they're going to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they hate it and it's a problem, then I have something to solve. And I'm going to exude my anxiety. I'm going to use my, anxious energy, right? To get curious, not scared. I'm going to use that anxious energy into benefiting the outcome, right? Not restricting the outcome.
Does anxiety ever make you freeze to where you can't take action though?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say so. Absolutely. But yeah, absolutely. It does, but okay. So for example, I launched Rockin' University. I relaunched it when quarantine happened. So it's been a solid month now. I remember calling my executive before I went on live. This is the first time that we actually got like paying students. And mind you, they got all these people streaming, right, to really listen to your education process. And I've been giving these meetings to my company and my team on a daily basis. So there's no reason why I should actually be scared. It was just something that was new, right? So instead of doing it in front of a conference room, I was doing it, in a computer screen where I can't see anyone's reaction. I can't read their faces, right? Their body language. But I'm gonna make this the best process possible. So I called my executive and I was freaking out, Arman. I was so scared, and I was like, "Oh my God, what do I do? Like, I'm gonna, obviously, oh my God, Kim!" And I just remember screaming and screaming like a little girl. And she was like, "It's so good to see you nervous about something again." And what's funny is then the webinar starts counting down for you. So it goes, all right, you're going to enter the webinar 5, 4, 3, 2. And mind you, I'm still screaming. I'm like, ah! And then boom, it hits 0 and we're live. And I see all these people start streaming in, and something just tapped in. And all of a sudden, everything went away because you start to absorb the more positive energy of, being able to connect with people as opposed to being afraid of what they're going to say, being judged.
That is so hard though, Jenny, because I notice so many people like have this fear of judgment. But I again, it's like you say, you've developed it over the years. But like, what do you actually say to yourself when the voice in your mind shows up and says, like, what is my Uncle Jimmy gonna think, or what is that old client gonna think? Like, what do you actually say? Do you just go shut the fuck up and just keep pushing, or like what does it look like?
I just say they're not my tribe. They're not in my tribe. We didn't sign up in this lifetime for us to connect, and that's okay. Because whatever I put out there is me reconnecting with everyone that is my tribe, right? So we have to believe that. We have to know that. Because before we even signed the contract to come into this life and live our best selves, Arman, we told ourselves that we had a mission here, right? And that mission isn't going to be stopped because you're afraid of people judging you. And of course, I have those voices in my head. Absolutely. I think about it all the time. But what I counteract is what I respond back to the voices. I always just say, if there's haters, if there are people that don't like it, they're just not part of my tribe, not in this lifetime. And that's okay. Because for every one person that's not part of my tribe, I'm going to attract 100. Right. And so that's, I'd say that's my best response to those little voices, that try to stop me.
That's such a great frame. They're not in my tribe. I mean, there are billions of people. Like, you really have an unlimited supply of human.
Exactly.
There's enough of them to join your tribe. There's enough of them to not. What do you mean when you say, talk to me about this mission, these beliefs of yours? What do you mean when you say these contracts that we've signed, purpose in life, your mission? It sounds like you're always thinking much bigger than just Jenny and this life.
Yeah. So, I'm constantly timeline hopping. So sometimes I'll timeline hop between like 5D and 3D communication. So Arman, I know you've experienced this within friends. I know that a lot of the times when you're speaking and you're connecting with people, you're actually tapping into your 5D level of
Mm.
consciousness as well. So,
I've never heard that phrase, 5D.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So 5D is the parallel world that exists, beyond the ones that we can actually see and touch.
Mm.
And the 5D is basically the magical unseen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
it's
Right.
kind of where our superpowers are. And
Beyond these five senses in the 3D, would you say? Something like that? Yeah.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. And so, but we're again, we before we came into our bodies and this physical experience, we're just ever flowing energy, right, of consciousness. And so as we lived for centuries or decades, I don't even like lifetimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our energies have constantly flown, and after every life, we're constantly being regenerated to choose another mission, to choose another path, right?
Mm.
And so, but before you entered your human experience, Armand, you were just an ever flowing, right, flow of energy,
Mm.
and you had your spiritual team, right? You've had your like energy friends that have decided, hey, Armand, you're gonna take on this life, right?
Mm.
You're going to live this human experience, and you're going to get into this character. You're going to know who you are, but it's going to take you some time for you to awaken, right? Your true potential, or you're going to
Mhm.
have to go through a lot of pain for you to really do, what you're meant to do in this life. Are you ready for
Mm.
that? And you already had the script in your head. You already knew exactly how everything was going to end up panning out. You probably had 80% of the plan, 20%
Mhm.
improvising, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But all I do know is that you knew who you were going to be before you became it, and you're
Do you think
serving the
that's the
mission.
voice we
Mhm.
sometimes hear? Is that nagging feeling, when we're not in alignment with what we're doing? Is it because we
Mhm.
already know what we should be doing and what our destiny is and what our mission is, and we're just avoiding?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe that
Absolutely.
too. I believe that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why we know sometimes people, when we only choose to stay in this three-dimensional space, we tend to see visualization as something that we think is just a far-fetched dream.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, when we have a visualization of something as little or as large, it's a reminder of what it
Mm-hmm.
is that you should be creating in this life, right? And
Yeah.
but everybody has that, though, Armand. It's not just me.
Is
It's not
is
just
intuition also a part of this?
a
Like,
1,000%.
yeah, yeah. I've really been listening to my intuition more. And the
Mm-hmm.
way my psychological makeup looks, it's not at the forefront. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of, my primary way of living and viewing the world is this
Mm-hmm.
extroverted feeling the environment,
Mm-hmm.
feeling people, kind of creating harmony.
Yeah.
And it's extroverted energy. So I thrive off being around people. And the secondary one is really what I call in my system. It's the architect. It's just what creates structure. So there's not,
Mm-hmm.
even in the first two, there's not this natural intuitive way of viewing the world. For some people, I believe it comes
Mhm.
more naturally, and for others it doesn't. But regardless
Mhm.
of who it comes more naturally for or not, every time I have found, most of the time, especially more and more as I get older, it's in those moments where we follow our intuition, where we follow the truth about who we really are. That's why I asked about that voice. It's not quite like a
Yeah.
voice, but it's like a feeling, right? It's not,
Right.
it's just an inner
Mhm.
knowing that, combined with intuition, which is also a similar feeling,
Right.
seems to be this, the way I would describe it in this moment is like a natural mechanism of course correction.
Mhm.
It's like, if so the North Star, we could
Right.
say, is that mission you're describing. And the voice
Mhm.
and the intuition that comes in is course correction toward that North Star. And you can avoid it
Mhm.
and avoid it and avoid it, and that's fine. But pain seems to become more prevalent as well
Right.
when we
Right.
when we don't. And like, I'm tired of the pain. So I've been listening to my intuition more. I'm being real. Yeah. I've noticed it's like a simple, in marketing, we call it a split test, an A/B test. Simple A/B test. Listen to the intuition versus try to be all logical and rational about it. I'm actually enjoying the ride more when I listen to my intuition. It's
Arman, no, that's and that's how it's supposed to be. Like, so this is, and I'm gonna help define that for you.
Yeah.
And for everyone that's listening, this is what I call tower moments. So through every pain, when we don't listen to our intuition, Arman, what ends up happening is the universe goes, okay, no problem. You didn't want to take our advice this time. That's okay. That's totally okay. But then they're gonna watch us walk through that same process just with a different person, right? A different place. And it's going to be the same mistake and it's going to be, but it's just going to formulate itself in a different version. But then what happens is the universe starts to recognize that we're in this pattern, right? We're in this pattern of finding these very specific relationships, these toxic relationships. We're in this pattern of constantly finding employees that say that they're really passionate, but really they're not. And, and so when we don't listen to our intuition, what ends up happening is the universe goes, okay, Arman, I'm just going to tap you real quick, right? And we're just going to intervene. It's going to suck. It's going to suck really bad, right? But I promise you, after this one, you're going to break the cycle of this pattern. And now you're going to pursue a new way, a new development of living, right? In the way that we're helping you align yourself to. So whenever it hurts really bad, Arman, that's just the universe intervening to say, hey, this will pass, but we need to break the cycle of the pattern that we're used to. All right.
Wow.
And that's really
pain as a mechanism for change.
Yep. Transformation.
That's profound.
Something's got to end for us to, find a new technique, a new way of believing, a new way of doing. So we're back in alignment. Yeah.
Wow. And we could argue, one of the things I've thought about as well is like, so if pain is a mechanism for change, that's actually very similar to some of Carl Jung's thoughts on depression and anxiety. He has this quote. I wish I had it in front of me. Let me actually work on pulling it up because I think it'd be really interesting. But he has this whole thing on, depression being this figure in your life. A bit too. I'll pull it up later. So he has this whole thing around when it does show up in your life. Imagine that it's like an old woman outside and she's got her head covered and you can't even see her face. And you can tell she's just sad and depressed and dark. It's this dark energy, this dark feeling. And it comes up to your door and it knocks on your door. When that happens, invite her into the home, sit her down and ask her to talk. Tell her to share what's on her mind. Right. Last summer, I was going through a lot of stuff, a lot of good, but a lot of stuff. I got married. I had some family stuff went down. So many good things, but there was a contrast, like this universal contrast. And I was not feeling good. And I came across that quote and I took that and I grabbed my journal, which I had just started picking up the habit of journaling. And I sat down and I had a conversation with that dark old lady, that figure. And it was the most interesting experience. I went for like 7 pages writing and talking to this energy, this figure. And it is a mechanism for change because things get more and more and more painful until we listen and until we shift. And that's what that experience taught me. And that's exactly what you're saying. So I love finding the patterns between these things. As you can tell, I'm like, I picked that from here. And then Jenny said that. Carl Jung said this. So it's real. It's true. I think we continue to experience lack and pain and perhaps even sadness. I don't want to confuse sadness with like tragedy and the events of life, but more so our own internal alignment around feeling good,
Absolutely.
What makes you feel good? Like when you get to the end of the day, how do you know you had a good day? Like what makes you feel good?
That is such a good question. Um, so if you were to ask me this about a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
I would say what would make me feel really good is if I made a new development in the business, in the companies.
Mm-hmm.
Because that for the last 7 years, that was where all my life was revolved around, just making sure that I was in creation mode. I was in building mode. I was in the mode of making sure that everybody was happy, from clients to employees to family, and so it would be, if you were to ask me a year and a half ago, it would be that I move mountains in the business. But today I'll tell you that, and quarantine or not, by the way, or COVID-19 or not, by the way, I would say that what makes me feel really good at the end of the day is when I know I got a dose of my checklist. So I'm still very motivated
Mm-hmm.
through the milestones that I set for myself. When I get through those earlier in the day now, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
elongating it throughout the whole day, and I get a dose of playtime. And I
Ah.
know that in the artist way, I mean, this is what we're learning, but when I get a dose of playtime and I get to spend one day exposing something about myself to the
Mm-hmm.
world, I feel value now. So, and at the time when I used to blog as well. And so when I was blogging, I felt that way. That was kind of like my TikTok. I was
Yeah.
blogging. And that was one of the most rewarding feelings in the world, is just, it's the most vulnerable thing in the world,
Mm-hmm.
to feel that exposed. But when I'm able to find a piece of myself that I'm able to express for myself and then just expose it,
Mm-hmm.
that combined with my daily tasks or whatnot is what makes me feel really happy. And just getting a dose of family and friends and
Yeah.
connection,
It's like progress
Yeah, yeah,
and creativity, like some sort of playful output
exactly,
and connection
exactly.
is what I'm
Yeah.
beautiful.
We
That's amazing.
underestimate, yeah, we underestimate how powerful, being playful is. And
Yeah.
I think you can resonate with me when I think about Erica, for example. She's one of our members in our little
We're a
cluster.
special
um,
little group. Yeah.
yeah,
We're so
she just
lucky.
has that playful energy that's just so addicting, and
Yeah.
it's something I really want to exude,
I
so
couldn't agree with you more. She's playful and there's just a positive energy that is just
Mhm.
exuding at all times, even if she's talking about something that isn't necessarily, happy or
Yeah,
pleasurable. And I think we
right,
all are attracted to people like that. And we all want to expand our own energy that way because obviously look at it, we're talking about it right now. Like that is
right,
having a positive effect on people. I think you're absolutely right.
exactly.
So Jenny, I know that you used to blog because I so don't get bashful on me. Don't get bashful on me. I wanted to kind of like touch on this and wrap here. Yeah, take a little swig of whatever you're swigging. Um, so the last one is from 2018. I would love to see you bring it back. I would love to see
Mm,
you bring it back.
mhm.
You have some incredible writing that I had no idea. Like I had no idea, before this interview, I'm like doing my thing, finding out more. I mean, I feel like I know you so well, but you know what it's like when you become friends with someone in one context, you are missing this other context. And so yeah, that's an incredible form of creativity. Where does that come from? So give some context because basically I'll kind of like open the door.
Mhm.
You basically have these incredible, sensual, sexual writings that are authentic about being a woman, about being a lover, about being in a relationship, about being human. And do you still write that way? Do you still do it for fun? What happened there? Where did it come from and how can we get some more of that? Even as a man, I was enjoying it. I loved there was one actually, I gotta pull it up maybe, but there was multiple things where I was like, this is valuable even as a man, like
Of
peering
course.
into the mind of a woman. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, what a beautiful intro. I'm so shy. So yeah, I was blogging. That was kind of my creative outlet at the time. So all of 2018, I was just finding myself being in this very expressive mode. I think at the time I just kind of I wanted I wanted something that I was holding on to, all the love that I was feeling, all the sexual desires, all the things that I wanted more of. I just wanted to kind of put it out there on a tangible scale. So instead of just keeping it in my thoughts and keeping it in my heart space, I wanted to find a home for it. And so writing became that foundation for a lot of the things that I was going through in my relationships um, I started writing for Thought Catalog. So that was really exciting. I'm
Oh
still a
yeah.
contributor writer. I'm still a contributor writer for Thought. And I had blog pieces like, oh gosh, I've had so many publications from like different blog outlets. Um, Unwritten, there was, gosh, I can't even remember all of them, but it was really nice. It was really
Mhm.
cool to see that people were picking up the content. They weren't even editing it themselves. They just wanted it exactly the way it was.
Mhm.
And I absolutely plan on bringing it back. I've actually had a lot of people ask me, hey, like, are you going to start writing again?
Is there a book in
Um,
you on the anything like
I
that?
think in the long-term goal,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just there's so many things I want to talk about, Armand.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to find that niche on like what it is you want to focus on. Is it spirituality? Is it love?
Mhm.
Is it, is it business? I mean, there's so many little things that inspire me, but a lot of my blogs were revolved around uh sex.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sex, desire, love, and also unattainable love. I think that was really what inspired a lot of the content as well. Whether it was unattainable from my end or their end,
Mm.
it was just something that I wanted people to find relatable. And I think
Yeah.
that was key, just to write
Yeah.
things that were relatable. Yeah. What
Well,
was your favorite?
oh, well, hold on. Hold on. Let's see here. Um,
There was the
gosh,
one on masturbation or the one
yeah.
on
The one so I've been in this world a long time, like I told you. Your headlines, holy shit. 5 perfect thoughts you should muse while you're fucking yourself. that that is the best headline ever. And then the one I really wanted to read was Make Me Surrender, the dominance in sex every supreme woman needs. I've had a lot of conversations on those topics, and
Yeah.
I think I love that stuff. Like we could literally have an entire podcast episode just
True,
on that
true.
on that on that topic. But I just think that there's something so important and beautiful about full raw expression of human desires, who we are. So many of us are taught to hold all of that back and bottle it all up and package it, and it's just so unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's so unhealthy, and I think you, as a woman, and just the first you bring this power, this boss level of intensity and fire, but then you balance that so beautifully with this feminine energy. And men are wildly attracted to that. And I think one of the concerns
Mm,
that I've had over recently is I see that a lot of things are shifting. A lot of things in terms
mm,
of the male female dynamic is shifting. And
yeah.
when I read your blog post, it really resonated because I thought, yeah, men need to read that because there is something that should not be lost in men
Right,
that's very important. We're balancing, we're raising women up. We're really giving this incredible like
mm,
equality and balance of opportunity and
right,
everything that is just so like this should have happened so long ago. And it's finally
right,
happening. But I also love that you keep it real about sensuality and sexuality and what you
right.
want in the bedroom, And so
Mhm.
it's important. It's important to keep sight of all those things. So all of them are
Yeah.
my favorite, but those two stood out to me.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. And Arman, you know what? This is confirmation, and you got to look for those signs along the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to look for the confirmations. And this specific moment with you is just reminding me to activate that part of me again, and attract that type of tribe, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the next,
I was going to say, you're kind of doing it on TikTok too,
yeah,
actually, in video form now. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I hopefully once I get to the streaming level of attraction, then I can kind of get everyone
Mhm.
to read some of the pieces too that I find very yeah, like a lot of them, they have these strong, enticing, bold titles, and it goes into that very well throughout the blogs, but it always somehow kind of turns around into something very empowering for man or woman.
Yeah.
I think it's just anything that can connect to the soul. But the next blog that I kind of have on my drafts is actually my attraction towards a woman. So this is like
Mhm.
my first lady crush ever.
Hmm.
And there's all that like hype on having like a like lady crush or whatnot, but I've never had one. And so but I was soul cycling at the time, and I was soul cycling almost 5 days a week. And I had this instructor that, Arman, I'm telling you, I was over the moon about this chick. Okay. And I'm telling you, like, I'm straight as an arrow, but there was something about this lady, this woman that just activated the spirit attraction, not
Mm.
not not
Yeah, it was her
attraction for
energy.
it was her energy. It was so I started writing about all the reasons why I became almost obsessive
Yeah.
with this beautiful spirit. And it all has everything to do with uh, the perspectives that we never even remind ourselves to value now, right? So it has
Mm.
nothing to do with makeup. It has nothing to do with what she looks like. And if anything, there are a lot of other instructors that looked a lot greater,
Mhm.
um, or that came in a little bit more
Yeah.
ready or whatnot. But it was something about this instructor's energy and the way that she presented herself, and it was what she taught me. It's her time to be able to turn me into the best biker
Mhm.
possible. That got me just so in love with her soul. And so
Yeah.
there's that blog that I think I need to go
Ooh.
back to writing,
Yeah.
and
Please.
kind of exposing,
Yeah.
why we're so attracted to one another. And it kind of makes us think like, well, why am I attracted to this guy? I'm a guy. I don't know why I'm attracted to this guy right now,
Mhm.
but it really talks a little bit of a higher dimension of the things that, yeah, I think
Yeah,
come
I think that the craziest forms of attraction that a person has felt in their life, if
Mhm.
they look back, it often has a lot more to do with something that they can't explain. Maybe you'd call that something in the
Right.
5D, right? It's like this
Mhm.
beyond what they can see, and it's something intuitive. It's their energy. You're just attracted to their radiance, almost like they're
Yeah.
radiating. It's the smile. It's it's all of it, right? And
Yeah.
it's like you can't. It's
Yeah.
and I feel like a lot of what's happening is your brain is just firing off all these chemicals, going like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So and your writing, I just want to add, I actually would describe it as it is very poetic. Like a lot of
Mhm.
you just kind of went like fuck the rules, and you just
Mhm.
write in a way that is easy, and it feels very like almost like a song and a dance, and it's very poetic, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you,
by week 12 of
Armand.
Artist Way, you're going to be unleashing.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord, I can't wait. Yeah, and you too, by the way. I mean, look at us,
Mhm.
here sitting here building content and expressing. Really, that's really what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Totally.
yeah.
Jenny, this has been unbelievable. What else do you want to mention here and close out with? I want to make sure that you get a chance to kind of bring anything to light that you want to mention or highlight any of the work you're doing right now or anything really.
Armand, honestly, I think we covered, God, we got a dose of everything. But if I can conclude it would just be really fuck the rules, right? Let's just get out there. Let's just do it our way, not the way that everyone expects of us, but let's just do it the way that we feel is deserving for ourselves, and so whatever that may be. I mean, that could be for anything, but I would say that let's just start living, let's start
fully
creating. Yeah. Oh, Arman, thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you. Where can people find you, get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So they can get in touch via, I would say, probably Instagram. I think Instagram is probably the easiest way. Jenny Chang Gang, pretty simple. That's Jenny with a Y and Chang, Chang, and then Gang at the end. And we'll all just be part of this little Chang Gang. Yeah.
I'm in it. So I highly suggest everyone else. Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. I'm extremely grateful for your time. Thank you. You rock.
Of course.
Much
I'll
love.
see you soon.
I told you, I don't make this shit up. She's fire, right? And I just feel so honored to be able to share that conversation, not only to be able to have the conversation and get to know a different side of Jenny, but to be able to share it with you. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. Shoot me a text. Send me a DM on Instagram. You've got my number, 619-825-2595. Let me know your thoughts. And to support the show, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts, on Google, on Spotify, wherever you are listening. Leaving a review is the best way to show support. And it just makes my day. It means the world to me. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the show. That way you'll get updates when our episodes go live. I have some amazing stuff coming up for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. It means a lot. I'll catch you in the next episode.